Chat, what the freak is up, you guys? I'm back. Once in like 6 month stream nowadays. We're gonna hit some heavy topics. It's gonna be a lot of tear jerkers. I saw people were talking about beer in the chat, and I'll jerk your tears for you real quick. Beer sucks. It tastes like piss. You can call me a little sissy boy if you want. I like fruity little drinks. Nothing's gonna take that away from me. It's just better. If you guys don't eat fruit, I mean, come on now. I don't really get it. There's probably like gonna be some like serious people who are gonna tune in to watch because I posted on my Instagram. I'm gonna talk about ARC. I'm just gonna read something I wrote. I want to call it short. It's not too short. It's a couple pages long, but real quick. The beginning here, and then we'll be good to go. Where's my freaking music at? Oh, it's one of those slow builders. What's up, Chad, J5R, and Sepp, and Emily, and Anatomoose, and Loaflin, the Poop Baron, and Dago. We got the camera set up. It's a little dark in here right now, just because I'm gonna turn this light on in a second, and it's gonna blow out the camera. So I'll do that when I actually start drawing over here. USA beer tastes like piss. Totally true. It's all, guys, do you know how beer's made? It's all in the piss category. All right, that's just what it is. Why would you I'm not going to come out against fermentation here, actually. I do enjoy some fermented goods, a little bit of kimchi, a little bit of soy sauce, but I'll draw the line at fucking beer. CJ, you didn't even talk in chat. You don't get a hello unless you talk in chat, all right? You have to, there's an optimal window for getting a jig hello, and you got to fit in it. And if you don't want to play the game, get out of the kitchen. One too many chefs here, all right? Yeah, I'll probably I want to just get drawing. I'm not going to stream for way too long, too long. I'm probably going to be done by like 6 at the latest. That's like 3 hours from now or so. So a good couple hours of beer and sauna combo. Wait, that just like totally fucking pulled my ADHD. Beer and sauna. That sounds nice. Just chilling with a bunch of naked dudes in the sauna drinking beer. That sounds nice. Okay, I do want to. I got to make a trip to the Nordic countries. Jake, who's your favorite painter? I hate that question. It's so hard. There's just so many good names come to mind. Probably like Shishkin or Repin or something. For the French, maybe Lepage. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, let me just. Yeah, I'm just gonna read this statement. Wrong one. Still, wait, nope, that's the right one. Wasn't a little satisfactory OST. Maybe we stop it for the very serious moment, though. Yeah, I wrote something up real quick. I shouldn't like predicate it too much because I think I go over everything very well, and I'll post this as my Instagram story. Yeah, I've learned a lot, and I want to correct the record on a few things, and there's just a few opinions that I have landed at. Okay. I'm not very good at reading things out loud, just to be quite honest with you guys, so bear with me here. All right, let's take a sip of water. So, as with my video, everything that I say here is a statement of my opinion, and it's not to be construed as a statement of fact. I think there's people in this situation who are very used to getting their way and have a long history of using their money and power to do so. So I just want to say here that this is all my opinion, as with everything in my video. And I do want to correct something right off the bat here. I said I made an error that I want to address. In the video, I stated that The Witchling was a finalist in both the portraiture and imaginative realism category. I was mistaken. It was only a finalist in the portraiture category. This makes no substantive difference to the claims in the video. And I would have focused on all the same judges as I looked into them while writing the story. And I talked about many judges that weren't in those categories, or at least one of them that wasn't in those categories in the video. So I don't plan on, the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't plan on making a second video or continuing down this rabbit hole any further. I expected my video to reach my normal audience, that is, mostly younger people who don't know much about the atelier and fine art world, but are curious about it. It's been interesting to see that this has now been seen by almost every fine artist in the West. Since the video was published, I've been swarmed with messages from well-known artists, people closely associated with art in personal and business relationships, and people involved directly in the salon. Universally, those who've reached out to me directly have said I hit the nail on the head and expressed their support. I feel that apologies for my reading. I'm nervous reading this, to be honest. I don't know why. I don't normally do this type of stuff live. That's the sort of rehearsed stuff is not my forte live. I feel that I have a much more clear understanding of how everything works now. If you're trying to make it as a fine artist before the internet, especially in America, you had very limited options. The fine art world operates off their tightly knit groups. You have no choice but to kiss the ring of gallery owners, competition organizers, and those who can connect you to buyers. Being introduced to only one or two important collectors can change your life. Because of this, artists learn to always show support publicly for these institutions, but behind the scenes, they've been building resentment for the many times they've gotten the short end of the stick. This has become very clear to me from the number of people who've reached out to who would happily talk, but only off the record. Or from the many people who thanked me for my bravery in my video, which I don't really think it was that brave. It was just talking about something that I found interesting. That's the only reason I made the video. I don't want to present the idea that these judges are being paid off in order to let certain paintings through. I don't think most people got that interpretation anyways. The conspiracy does not need to be so on the nose. It's both more complex and more simple at the same time. The judges are volunteers, and many of them are just artists, and they've existed in these groups for a very long time. Nothing wrong with many of them. Something I've pointed out in my video was that many categories, like the imaginative realism category, will only have one or two actual painters on them. That is a bit strange for a painting competition. Michael John Angel, a juror of the portrait category and the founder of Angel Academy, commented on the video and gave his opinion. It was very enlightening. I'm going to pull a few quotes, but I pinned the comment for everyone to go and check themselves. This is it's on the video. You can go check the pinned comments. You want to read all this stuff. If the work is beautiful, who cares who painted it, AI or not? I should add that this painting was one of the best in the show. If artists are threatened by its ability, they should start pulling their socks up. This reads to me as someone who, at their absolute best, is recklessly negligent of the rules of the competition. And on a more reasonable reading, someone who purposely broke the rules of the competition, knowing that it was digital or AI and didn't care. I also see this as an extremely concerning statement of someone's taste in art, considering that there are so many errors that I pointed out in my video that even an amateur artist should be aware of. There are no Bouguereaus or Leightons with dirt smeared across the forehead. To evoke those artists in a discussion like this shows the extreme level of incompetence and a complete lack of understanding of the 19th century painting. I will address a small group of people who criticize my video. Their criticisms largely revolve around the idea that art might have made a mistake, but they're one of the only institutions that supports realist art, and therefore we should look for excuses or small changes to come of this and not attacks. I believe that the incompetence of Angel is not a one-off opinion. I believe that this is the opinion of the Ross family and therefore ARC as a whole. Kara and Fred Ross's complete failure to identify this as AI, despite Kara being an authenticator of 19th century work with Sotheby's, speaks for itself. This is a failure to understand even the most basic core ideas of 19th century realism, that they modeled their entire brand and identity after. To them, traditional realist art is just a symbol of a more conservative time gone by. They're not artists. They're not interested in history or technique. You may point to the books they've written, but I point to their continued negligence and decline of the salon and their collection, which has led to the point we're at here. These are art dealers who are in the business of increasing their value, the value of their collection. Giving someone a career through awards, connections, and patronage is a byproduct of their wealth generation. If the same gains can be achieved without the exhausting need to support an artist, then AI work would serve just the same. One must ask themselves, why are there so many non-artists on each panel in the ARC Salon? In my opinion, people like Angel or other sponsors, or the sponsors, Angel's not a sponsor, he's a living artist for ARC, are those who will always be aligned with the taste of the Ross family. Other artists are there to provide a balance that can easily be counterweighted. This is not an accusation of an outright rigged competition, but one that favors an in-group of artists and does not give as much weight as they claim to the history they identify with. The classical lineage of much of the Western atelier world descends from what is composed of multiple generations of painters from America. It's no wonder they have to move to Florence to intellectualize their classical technique, despite the fact that a Russian or Chinese 17-year-old paints more true to life than even their master's students. The people letting AI through a traditional art competition are the same ones who've been peddling bullshit classical art history their entire careers. It's never been more evident that these people have never thought more deeply about the values they espouse than when they think a woman with 3 eyebrows is akin to Bouguereau. This is not the only organization that supports traditional realist art. These people support a fantasy of what they want realist art to be. One that's easily summarized by their winning pieces, illuminated pretty white girls standing at the edge of a forest. Art credits itself for the revival of classical training in the Western world. They proliferated an incredible amount of ateliers, but not an incredible amount of great students. It's interesting to me how many schools claim they work in a 19th century technique, yet fail to work in any of the same mediums or formats. They take inspiration from the French academics, and then return back to their 60-hour figures, 200-hour shadow box cast drawings, or bark plates. The creator of the Witchling credits an art atelier for her old master training. Systemic issues come from the top down, and the top in this case are the people who accredit schools across the whole world choosing AI over real paint. For those who are championing reform, I ask you to look to your leadership. They're the ones who tried to cover this up, swapping out the photo, hoping no one would notice, failing to admit fault in their weak retraction. Since then, there have been no changes announced, because to acknowledge this in any way would damage the only thing that holds ARC together. Not integrity, but prestige. Sorry, I suck at reading shit out loud, to be honest. These are my thoughts. That's probably all I'm going to say on this situation from now on. Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of things from a lot of different people, and I'm going to post this on my Instagram. Yeah, I don't think I want to talk about this too much anymore, to be honest. If there's new developments or whatever, I'm going to look into it and hear about it. If someone wants to correct the facts on me, I'm always happy to state the truth, make corrections. There were that small correction that I made, and I put that in the description, and that's fine. But this is, it's very funny how this is, every artist that you've ever heard of on Instagram has DM'd me in the past few days. And it's been a very interesting experience. It's very much so consumed my life for the past few days. Yeah, I think this. I'll put it on my Instagram story if you want to read it. Let's draw. Turn on my light here. Ugh. Shooting into the light. Isn't this beautiful? You guys get this? Christie's running an entire AI auction. Yeah, like I said, I think that rich people make money off of buying art for cheap and then making that person more famous and then selling that art for more money. And if you can cut out the artist out of that exchange, which is the most expensive part of that transaction, then you just print money. So that is the goal. Care to explain why you're drinking from a jar with a straw? It's called a cup. Wait, I gotta switch over my other mic. That's not my mic. It's interesting too that video is not like, oh, I'm not talking this mic anymore. That video is not like incredibly popular. I've had some of my other videos are much more like smash hit videos or whatever that are like much larger and have rose up much more. The video is doing fine. The people that have seen that video are like the entire fine art world, which I think is a lot more small and tight knit than you would think. At least for the people that are like seriously involved in it, a few thousand or so. So it's pretty easy for it to hit that whole entire demographic. But that's been very surprising to me. As far as drawing materials, guys, we got... Hi, Jake. I'm 3D modeling. What should I make? A cat. As far as drawing materials, I got a sharpening pad. I got kneaded erasers. And I got vine charcoal. I got charcoal pencil. My brain's fried. Sorry, guys. I gotta like reset my brain after reading that. And we got paper stumps and stuff. I gotta finish kind of blocking in this drawing. I worked for maybe about an hour the other day here, and I really like how this is starting. I think there's like a really nice flow down the figure. That is the essence of this pose. I always try to look for like what is most interesting, and I think that is very much so the flow from the pit of the neck down, out, and through the foot. So I'm very happy where that is. I think it's a little bit skinny width-wise, so we'll see what I can do about that. But the length-wise, all the measurements should be relatively correct, I think. Yeah, I'm happy with where this is at for now. It's just, a quick start. We'll see how much time I can put in before this ends. I am working on a 3D sculpting video. It's been just heavily delayed because I'm working on my course 2 right now with Ramon. So we are making really big progress on that though, and we'll continue to. So that should be out hopefully April, but probably like May 1st is the goal. And I think that we put out kind of tentative timelines before, but I think that timeline is very achievable now. Now that we're further into the project and can see that. Let's ask what I think about Picasso. The thing about the art thing is that like I agree with like a lot of like these conservative like ideas about art, but not because I'm like a weirdo guy who like cares about these things because I want to return to tradition, but just because I like realist art. And it's a shame that every political movement, not just right-wing stuff but left-wing stuff, has done this too in the past, has co-opted realism, and I don't like what it's always co-opted to be whatever movement people want it to be, and it's quite frustrating because there are many values that I believe in. I just don't think that those guys actually genuinely believe in any values, and the ones they do believe in are trash. Am I streaming in 4K? Oh, let me guys know if this lags. I forgot I was still on 4K because I was recording. Let me just kind of sit back here and think about this, about these big corrections. I love watching your content, Xiao Hongshu. Xie ni. Let me think about this. I am an angel. That light is just it's my big brain opening up and sharing my ideas with you from behind. I wish I had another camera angle that wasn't shooting directly into the light, but what are you gonna do about it? Okay. I need to think for a second about a plan of attack. Hey, thanks for becoming a member, Silver Sebri. Appreciate that. There's some members videos. I got some drawing tutorials and stuff. I'll put out a members video this upcoming week too. I want to talk about some history stuff and some books that I like. I was probably due for one this week, but I ended up doing the stream, and obviously I've been quite distracted with the ARC stuff, so forgive me. I think we can make the shoulders a little bit wider here. Comes out here. Come out to here. We can pull our traps down out to connect to our collarbone. Collarbone comes up and over. And then we have the top of the shoulder here. And we should look for the general angle across the shoulders like this. Video quality is very crisp. All right, hell yeah. I can actually, yeah, it's nice running 4K streams. If any one of you guys can fucking hook me up with a 5090, please, for the love of God, I'll pay you an ungodly amount of money. Please, I need you. I need you so bad. All right, connect up. This is where our shoulder ends. Connect that back up to where our obliques are. Same with this side. Yeah, I wonder like the height of the head is about equal from aces point to aces point. That's the tops of the hips here to here. So I think that actually means we're decent for the width. I think we're not too far off for the width. I'm gonna just push it out a little bit more here and here for the chest. I'm using Vine charcoal, and I'll use charcoal pencil too here once I put in this basic drawing. The hand height should be 2/3 of our face is about equal to a hand height. We can drop that down from the nose to find where the pit of the neck is. We can drop that down again to find where the nipple line is. I think the nipple line is going to be right around here. We'll come down our sternum here, and it's about where the nipple line is. We're going to see, or a little bit below it, we're going to see the opening of the rib cage, and this will be our rib cage opening. You know, one thing I feel like, let me just check the head heights here because I feel like we're a little bit long. Okay. So 1 takes us down to about the nipple. Yeah, that looks good. 2 to about the bottom of the rib cage. 3 to the aces points. Let me check that again. One, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, I actually feel like we're pretty good there. Let me double check that. 1 head height takes us down to about that chest area. 1 to the bottom of the rib cage, and 1 to the opening of the pelvis. That all looks pretty strong to me. I'm happy with that. Angle of this can clock in a little bit more. The Discord link is in the description of all of my videos. If you just open any one of my videos, you'll find it. The original sculpture I rendered out. I mean, I didn't make it. It's what's the name of it? You can find the reference link in my Discord. What's the name of the sculpture, guys? Dio something. It's not Diomedes. Art. I don't even know where I rendered it out to. Yeah. Where's my Discord? Diomedes. Oh, it is Diomedes. Yeah, I rendered it out in Blender. Okay. Blood turned himself into a skinny twink. Oh, not turned himself. You're not calling me a skinny twink. I was about to beef with you, man. I'm sorry. I'm too on defense lately. All right. I'm not a skinny twink, despite the twink allegations. He's a little bit skinny, but I think it's always best to draw things as skinny, like a wire armature or a wire frame armature. And then you can build that mass on top of it as you layer the muscles and stuff on. There is our collarbones out to the top of our shoulder. This shoulder drops pretty much straight down. And our elbow always ends at about the end of our rib cage. So I'm feeling pretty good there. And then our wrist in line with about our pubic bone right here. Check that on my iPad over here. Yeah. And we can look at the negative space in between here, so it should be right around there. And we can put our arm and hand Beautiful little club hand. I could probably be a little bit more descriptive here. Our wrist will ramp out, push out to here. Just some general mittens to start. That'll be good enough. Good enough until we come here specifically. Just take a look at that angle between the wrist and the top bone. There we go. And close the chat on accident. Let me open you guys back up. Did you watch Squid Games? Because you are the legend Thanos. I don't think that makes sense at all. I did watch Squid Games 1. I don't really watch a lot of TV or movies, though. It's kind of... I'm kind of have no pop culture references, to be honest. How important is it to practice from 3D forms, cast, or life versus photo? Drawing from life is very helpful. I mean, you know, it's obviously better any time to draw from life than it is to draw from photos. And I think there's a lot of truth to the people who are like, oh, we only draw from life here at this academy, or like, you should only draw from life, like, don't draw from photos, it's so bad. I think that type of stuff, it comes from a root of truth, 100%. But people, like everything, you know, over time, these ideas get bastardized and kind of taken out of context. And from here, this would be about where the armpit is. Angle between the two armpits. Yeah, that looks good. Over here. Over time, it gets a little bit bastardized, and I think why you would only draw from life, or why you would want to prefer drawing from life versus a photo, it gets distorted. You know, drawing from a photo, it flattens it out. That's what a photo does. It's already made a drawing for you, basically. And that can be helpful for seeing like big shapes, to see how things are chopped up in the borders of the canvas and the four walls of the canvas, but it can be easy to fall into the same trap of those exact things. The strengths of a photo are that it is 2D, and the weakness of a photo is that it's 2D. And so you can grow to rely on like copying every angle exactly as you see it, or to copying the values exactly as you see them, and the lights and the darks. And that reliance on those ideas, you stop kind of thinking critically, and you're only relying on like the information that the photo can give you and reproducing as faithfully as possible, versus like really understanding stuff. Drawing from life fixes all those issues, but we don't all have casts. And back in the day before casts, back in the day before photos, people still drew photographically all the damn time. Something I've been reading and discussing while I make this course with Ramon recently, as we were looking at the pointer essays yesterday, and I'm going to read through those very soon. They're essays written by a guy who studied in Paris, to the Royal Academy of Art in England, and the English academies, they had all these problems because they trained people to work extremely, photographically. This was basically before photos, or during the early daguerreotypes. And they would copy these plates, these engravings, just like the bark plates, but they had other ones back then too. And they would learn how to reproduce them perfectly and cross-hatch them into the most beautiful, elegant cross-hatching ever. There's a story about this in Shirley Fox's book too. And they could make some pretty decent, engraving copies or plate copies, but those guys couldn't draw for shit. They needed 2 or 3 times as long to draw the same thing that a French artist could. And even then, it just didn't have that sort of charisma and spirit that the French artist did. And there's a lot of parallels to, I think, a lot of the critiques that I give modern academies nowadays in this sort of training, where people are overly focused on their beautiful cross-hatching aesthetic and not really focused on like the elements that actually make up and describe a picture. So people have been drawing in this like kind of 2D or versus 3D way, photo versus cast. That this debate goes back further than photos and casts. And certainly people that draw from life only can draw in a very photographic, very lazy way. And that's what a lot of my critiques are of some academies that exist nowadays. You know, like the whole site size thing, I think that's a very photographic way to draw. So you can draw from photos too in a very three-dimensional way, in a way that you benefit from, just as much as drawing from casts, I think. Maybe not quite as good, just because a cast has more information to give you than a photo, but really, if you have a thorough understanding of it, then you can make the same end product from either. And that's just, it has to do with your understanding of what you're looking at and your ability to not just copy exactly what you see and copy all the angles and values, but to understand what you're looking at and to make, you know, an actual piece of art. To understand, you know, what are the rhythms that go through this figure, what is the essence of the figure, of the pose, you know, like, what are the big read of lights and darks versus like copying tiny little gradations with a small, you know, graphite pencil or something like that. So I don't like the people that are like, oh, you have to draw only from life. There's no other way to get good. Because half of the people I know that say that don't know anything about the fundamentals, and they just picked that up once and they decided that that's going to be their identity. And then there are, you know, people who like go to academies that preach the same stuff, and yeah, I think that's lazy as well. They didn't draw photographically until the Baroque period, and kind of never before the late 1800s. What are you talking about? This cross-hatching print thing that I'm talking about from the English academies is from like the late 18th century, and the 18th century in general. This is an educational problem I'm talking about. There certainly have been people forever that only learned how to copy exactly what they see, and not learned how to, you know, analyze and make art of it. You know, they made some like more photographic looking drawings during the mid 19th century when like daguerreotypes and shit were happening, but that's not exactly what I mean. And I think pretty quickly they kind of stopped that stuff because it didn't look all that great, I think. Yeah, and I think people draw more photographically than ever now, especially at some of these ateliers. But it just kind of comes down to like how much are you learning when you're like filling in. How much are you learning when you're filling in like shadows with like a fine pointed pencil? There's nothing. What's this guy talking about, anyone? I can't tell if he's talking to someone else or he's talking to me. I'm not talking about Rubens. I probably won't darken the background. I don't know. If you want to darken the background, you should darken it like, so the process here is I'm going to block in with the Vine charcoal. Vine charcoal is very soft and easily erasable so that I can correct mistakes and work broadly. And then once I have like a clean separation of lights and darks and a linear drawing that I'm happy with, I will switch mostly to using the charcoal pencil, which will stick on the page better and achieve darker darks. At that point, I'll start using the stump to model the form, and that will give some rounding. And after I have those shadows blocked in, I will just start working top to bottom and rendering each piece out to completion. If I want to add a dark background, it's at those stages that while I'm doing the head, I add it in while I'm doing the head. That way, the values of the head are relatively adjusted to the dark background. If you try to draw the whole figure and then put a dark background in, then your whole figure is going to look really light. So you have to do it as you go, or else you're going to end up redrawing everything once it's in. Who are you talking about then? LMAO Vermeer. What the fuck is this guy on about? I'm talking about Pointer's essays in the Royal Academy of Art, South Kensington, in the early 19th century. Is that specific enough for you? And the general trend of plate copying has existed in education throughout, since before the 18th century. Prints, the lithographs have been around forever. Not forever, but for a long time. yeah, that this is generally largely like an English 18th century thing that I'm talking about when I'm talking about a very literal translation of everything that you see. People are so, swear to God, people learn like, they learn their little art history facts and they just run with them in every conversation. Everyone's hitting on Jake today. They are? It's Valentine's, baby. You guys are all my Valentine, all right? You're all my Valentine. I'm not reading all the messages, so maybe I'm just... I only pick up the snark messages, and I miss all the loving messages. That's the human experience, you know. We're all weak. That's why we all gotta stay off Twitter, you know. Yeah, you guys aren't at like a completely flat camera angle. You're not gonna get one. It's really hard to set up because the camera has to be like literally right here. I have no idea how the fuck to get it with no distortion. You know, if you're watching like your teacher demo in like an atelier or something, or you know, in a workshop or something like that, you're gonna get the same angle in person too. You can't be sitting in your teacher's lap. Valentine's Day though. Maybe. What if? Don't get one guide. Yeah, I get one guide by the entire Arc Salon. Let's see. So I think my helmet's probably a little bit small too. Maybe just my head in general. Yeah. Let's do this. But I really am feeling like all this ARC stuff is coming to a close, and I'm very happy. I think with where things wound up. I think the people that I think the people, they responded in a way that played out exactly how you would expect it to for them. And that's a very funny fact. Funny thing that happened. Very predictable in some ways, but it's always humorous. And it really, it's just kind of, I've been dealing with taxes and all this stuff, so it's really, this stuff has been consuming my life, and I want to get back to 3D modeling and working my 3D video, because I'm super excited for the stuff I'm doing there. So that will happen this week. I have some more course stuff to shoot this week, so it keeps getting pushed back, but the course is more important. Because once that's out, then that's out, and then I can like really focus on making a whole bunch of shorts and stuff like that too. I want to make a whole bunch of like educational shorts. I'm gonna make a couple shorts here this week or next week actually. Because guys, a reminder, I'm teaching a 2-day workshop with Underpaint Academy. You can find that in my link tree on my Instagram. It'll take you right there. You can just search Jake Nodara Underpaint Academy. The 2-day workshop is going to go over all the fundamentals. I really want to make a very clean, like fun, like easy to approach, like very well designed lectures on like all of the things to think about in art and drawing. It really, mostly in drawing. I'm very excited to teach that. That's coming up in mid-March. It's 2 days. It's no critique or anything like that. It's all online. You get to keep the recording and stuff like that. So I got to start. I want to make some reels and stuff to prepare those lectures and experiment with some of those ideas and promote that. That'll happen in a week or so. And then once I finish my actual course with Ramon, I'll make a whole bunch of reels too, just because I do miss making reels. It's very nice to be able to make things in like only a couple days, or really only one day. But I can't go back. I can't go back to just like shitting out a video in a day. I don't think it'll ever happen again. I'm like, I've become like, I've never been like this about anything in my life, guys. I really haven't been. I'm very sloppy. I make a lot of mistakes and everything in my life growing up. I was never passionate about stuff. I really had a hard time focusing and all that. You know, now when it comes to making a video, I can't help myself, but like, you know, put in all these stupid fucking hologram backgrounds and like, gotta make sure that animation of the scan lines is right and like, you know, making all of these, and even when there's just a background that's just blue, I'm like, why don't I use, make my own procedural noise texture generated animation in the background? There's like a pulsing blue in that background. I spent like 3 hours designing that pulsing blue. There's no reason to do that. There's no reason. I forgot that you guys are looking at me over here. I can talk to you over here. There's no reason to do that. I'm a complete. I just can't help myself. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's come over me. But whatever. I'm not mad about it. And I think there's like much higher things to achieve, which is what the 3D stuff is for. Because I think that I can make a lot of this stuff in 3D. Does New York City have an arts advocacy group that I ask? Because I've heard models were able to get a bill passed to protect them. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't really know about any like in-person groups or anything like that. I'm not involved in any of this stuff. I'm like just on my computer, man. I don't exist in real life. You guys gotta remember that. I don't fucking exist. I'm not human. I'm not real. I'm just a guy in this room 80 hours a week on my computer, okay? And not a real guy either, just a guy. So I don't know anything about anything. I know no one cares about the pulsing blue background, but if no one cares about, if I go, oh, no one cares about this, oh, no one cares about that, oh, no one cares about this, oh, no one cares about that, then all of a sudden you got, instead of like, oh, you got this background with this highlighted elements that are moving around and shifting in and out of camera focus or of lights, instead, all of a sudden, now I've compromised on every little area. If I let an inch go, I let a mile go. That's what I'm saying. All of a sudden, now you just got a PowerPoint presentation. No animations, no backgrounds, okay? That can't happen. I'll let my sanity burn down before I let it happen. Really, the way to improve efficiency for me isn't to cut what I do, but just to become better at planning an organization so that I can carry out bigger ideas faster. I think that's the only way I can go about it. There's no going back. There's no going back. I'm crazy. I'm the Joker. I'm the freaking Jonkler, okay? How long did it take you to say, to make the statue say, isn't this imposter syndrome? Well, at first I took the lazy route on that one. This is good. In one of my videos, I animated that sculpture to say, isn't this imposter syndrome? And I took the lazy route on that one at first. I downloaded a clip art animated mouth moving, and it didn't even sync up, and I put it on there, and then I was like, no, I can't. Like, I left it until like pretty much the end, and I was like, no, I can't. And then I put a grid warp over it and frame by frame, like, kind of move the mouth to like somewhat match it. I don't know how to do any of that type of animation, so I just guessed, but yeah. That one's not even all that bad, to be honest. It was like, an hour or so, or two. Actually, it was probably 2 or 3 hours, because I tried to look up ways to make it faster instead of just doing it by hand, and that I wasted an hour or two on. Why does he generate noise patterns? That's how every procedural element in anything is made. You just use, in Blender, you use the fucking Veroni noise, and in DaVinci, they only have one noise in DaVinci. It's a pain in the ass. You use just the fast noise in DaVinci. You can download other noise patterns, but that's how anything procedural made ever. It's just a bunch of noise patterns that you manipulate and turn into something. It's kind of hard to explain to the lay people like you who aren't into the noise generation. CJ says Musgrave on top. I think that's the old one. New heads like Veroni, old heads like Musgrave. Who do you think is the best living academic painter drawer? Drawer. Oh my fucking god. Drawer. Artist. Like most skilled academic. There's this guy named Geraldo Gibraltar. I think he's like, I think he's Brazilian actually. Brazil on top. Sound off, obrigado in the chat. I think he's Brazilian, and then he went to the Repin Academy. That guy is like crazy skilled, super small. He's probably got like 2,000 or whatever followers on Instagram. I think he used to teach, I think, at the Princeton School of Classical Arts they have there, which I think has a lot of Russian influence. Let me check. I'm gonna move this chest down a little bit. Need a little bit more room here. That guy's crazy skilled. I've never seen almost anyone like that. Just in the academic stuff that guy's able to pull off. Hell, I mean, if you want to talk about like pure academic skill too, I think I'm not like, I think that this guy makes teaching a little bit too complicated. But if you want to talk about pure skill, I think like Dan Thompson is like crazy good. I mean, that guy's like, he's out there doing like 4D chess to like draw a line. I don't even know. It's like the 19th century stuff is what I love. It's like this French academic stuff, and the whole point of like the French is stuff is that they are like annoyingly simple. Well, no, the French are annoyingly complex in every like bureaucratic system they possibly can. But in the way they make art, they try to be annoyingly nonchalant and cool about it as possible. Like, oh, I didn't even try. And I think that I respect, you know, my personal sensibilities go for more painters that share those types of qualities, more so than people that make things like very complex. But I think Dan Thompson's like very skilled and does some pretty crazy stuff. So that one is certainly one of the more skilled people out there, especially in the West too. There's not, I don't think, quite as many painters in the West that have that sort of like crazy level of skill. Certainly not John Angel. I need some Jake Don't Draw. Jeff Watts. I think Jeff Watts is pretty low on the list of skill. Listen, I studied with Jeff Watts. Well, I think he is very high on the list of skill. The guy is very skilled. I studied with Jeff Watts online during the pandemic. I did like a year of Watts Atelier online. And I don't want to say anything like bad about Watts Atelier, but you know, it's very respectable people doing respectable stuff out there, but I'm just not a fan of the way that they do stuff. It feels very stylized. It feels like they have a system for everything, especially with like the Riley rhythms and all that stuff. And I've kind of redrawn this line like 10 times now. I gotta quit it. I just move somewhere else. And I think a lot of the work that comes out of there looks very samey, and I think they struggle with a lot of the same issues. So I think their color and value, especially in painting, it's very systematic and it's not very naturalistic. They lend themselves more to the comic book type of stuff. Now, Jeff Watts has crazy anatomy skills and crazy dexterity and like ability to design lines. I just don't think that those are like all that useful for like making fine art. You know, again, better for like comic booky style type stuff, 100%. Noise generation sounds like my ex-wife. Whoa! Oh! Oh, ball and chain. Am I right, guys? Valentine's Day, guys. Smarten up. Smarten up, guys. Morgan Westling? I know that name. I think he's like a Western painter. Those Western painter guys are really good. You know who made a really good Western painting is that French guy, Matthew or something. Oh fuck, what's his name? I know exactly what he looks like and shit on Instagram. I'm just not very good with names. The Soviets had incredible painting. Soviet realism is weird because it's not like realism, you know, like it's very kind of stylized. They were very good at color and stuff. It's very close to what the Chinese artists are very good at. Well, you know, connected ideologies there and politically connected. Yeah, but it's not very realist, you know. I think like 19th century realism is far more realist, far more like accurate and fleshy than the Soviet stuff. And the guys, you know, the Peredivnitsky, the Wanderers group, you know, like that's like probably peak realism in all of our history. Is probably the Wanderers group from Tsarist Russia, from pre-revolution Russia. I believe that's the right way to phrase that. Peredivnitsky, something like that. Pretty good Russian. Mark Majwanian, yeah, he's pretty good. Those Western painters they all have some pretty good skill. And I think Mark was, I think he did like creative direction or something, or viz dev or something for movies, and so that gives you like a lot of skill and design and composition and ability to arrange images that other, you know, just like a pure fine artist doesn't have. And that's one of my critiques too about a lot of modern schools, is they don't focus on like composition or like original design and work. It's like all about, you know, just that painting from life. But they don't make multi-figure compositions. They don't have like sketching contests. They don't have for original compositions and for design. And I think that type of stuff, it really weighs down on that whole world. And it limits a lot of those students. Oh, somebody just said painter Paul Rhodes made a response video on his channel Paul Talk. This came up on my feed, and I thought it was very interesting. Well, I just thought it was kind of random and funny that a reaction video about myself, that's never happened, came up in my feed. It's some old guy, Paul Rhodes. This guy, it's very weird. This is a very weird video. You know, he agrees with me about some of the AI stuff, and then he like takes a clip of me like talking about like, oh, the edge of the nose is like it's firm here and it should be, or it's soft here and it should be firm. And then he's like, this guy's got all these weird rules about edges and how art should be, and it's so restrictive. Here's the thing about realism, guys. I think a lot of these guys who grew up in the 60s and or whatever they were never taught this or whatever. They have these weird abstract expressionist influenced ideas about art. You know, send us the Paul if you want. When I'm talking about realist painting, and when I say an edge here should be firm or soft, I'm not talking about a rule in painting. I'm talking about, I can talk to the camera here, I forgot. I'm talking about life itself. Like, if the side of the nose, the far side of the nose, is very soft and blurry, that means the skin is merging into the face. Things mean things. When I have shadow on one side of my face and light on the other side of that face, that means there's a light source coming from that side of my face. And if the artist messes that up, now they've introduced another light source or some confusing bounce light or something that breaks the rules of reality into the image. So when I'm talking about, oh, you know, is this eye placed correctly? I'm talking about what humans look like. I'm not talking about some sort of rule on painting. If you want to go, oh, art can be anything, you know, art can be anything, that, you know, your rules are so restrictive, that's fine, but like, this is a realist painting composition judged on the criteria of 19th century academic work, right? So people should generally have 2 eyes and 5 fingers, and their heads should be, you know, their heads shouldn't be 3 times as wide as they are tall, because that's what people look like. If you submit an alien to the competition, you're not going to win. And that's what academic work is judged upon. That's the criteria of it. People can do whatever they want. You know, go look at like Colleen Berry or whatever. She's a very skilled realist artist who went off and did her own thing. I love artists that do their own thing. I love Mikhail Vrubel, for example. But Vrubel studied with Chistikov. You know, so people are weird when it comes to art, and it's strange to me because it's like walking up to like a math professor in college and being like, nah, that algebra shit, man, very restrictive. That algebra stuff, dude, very restrictive, very weird. I don't like your rules about math. And it's like, okay, dude, that's great, but at the end of the day, I gotta build a bridge. And that bridge should probably not kill everyone on it. And so it's like, at the end of the day, I gotta design an illustration, and that illustration has to look like a human. So I'm gonna give her 2 eyes. Or I'm gonna make the edges of her nose firm, because I don't want those edges of her nose to break time and space, So, that's my thoughts on that. I'm not mad or anything, by the way. I'm just very passionate about this. And I get this type of, I get this type of thing all the time. And I think that America just has very poor art literacy and very poor understanding of this stuff. And it's frustrating to deal with, because I want to talk about like real things about paintings that exist and have existed for thousands of years. And people will be like, oh, I see you're making all this critique about this art contest, but maybe we should start challenging the notion of contests in general. Art doesn't have to be held to any standards. That's cool, man. But this is an art contest for a specific set of standards. Like, what are you talking about, Bubbo? Bucko? I need to set my Discord at DND. I'm missing 5090 notifications to do this stream. I saw Paul's paintings. I'm not impressed, to be honest. You think Russian artists are overall better than Western artists? Yeah, at many things. At making actual images and composition and painting, yes. I think Western artists can render things more smoothly, very softly. They can probably have a closer attention to tiny value changes and stuff like that because of the formats and the conditions that they work on. But I think at the end of the day, if you took these two groups and you were like, okay, we're gonna do an art competition, you guys gotta make finished paintings, that aren't just figure studies or head studies. Or if you do it in like a time format that's like 10 hours or even 20 hours, I think that Russian artists would absolutely smoke the hell out of, and Chinese too. They would destroy Western artists. Yeah. No cap on a stack. It's a difference in culture and education. And Chinese art has its own thing too. I was on Xiaohongshu recently as well. And Chinese art, has a lot of its own kind of ideas with this stuff. Like, Chinese art and Russian art are very, very similar. Like I said, Soviet realism, very similar in style to some of the stuff that was coming over to China at the time. And I think the Chinese artists have a very similar attention to like color and like light that the Russian artists are very, very good at. But because of the way that China is set up, is that they have like all people on Xiaohongshu care about is all people on Xiaohongshu care about is the state exams to get into college. Most of the people that are really, really good at art in China don't even care that much about art. They don't want to be professional artists. They're just trying to pass the easiest exam to get into a really good school, and that's not math or writing or whatever, it's art. So, I can move this out of the way. It's very funny, everything in China, in the art world there, revolves around those standardized exams where they'll have literally 3,000 plus people taking one exam for a college. And you can see the pictures there. It's like 3,000 people or hundreds of people in one room, all lined up, all painting from the same photo, shoulder to shoulder. It's very funny. So the influences that your government has and its sponsorship and patronage, it affects the way that your culture and people are trained in art. And Russia has very strong schools that I think are much closer to 19th century work, and they're not specific to 19th century work. It's interesting because Russia is such a shit government, actually. Yeah, a shit government. And it's interesting that they've maintained that tradition there. And American schools are very, very focused. And actually, when I say American schools, you have to understand that all ateliers in the West come from the same 5 people. All these ateliers in the West, outside of Russia and China and all the other ones, because of modernism and stuff, a lot of these ateliers, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of died out, especially in America. There was not a whole lot of schools teaching the classical art stuff in the 60s. I think that's when it was at its lowest. 60s, 70s. And then a handful of people, Paxton to Ives and Gamble to Richard Lack to Daniel Graves, now the owner of FAA, Florence Academy of Art. Angel too, John Angel is in that lineage. These guys, and then FAA, they're most of the teachers that teach ateliers all across America and all across the West. They are taught and owned by people that graduated from FAA. So pretty much all the classical training that you see in Western schools comes from a very narrow group of people that that learned from basically 5 people. Again, that's Paxton. Paxton is this guy who studied with Jerome back in the day, and then there's Gamble who studied with Paxton. And then there's Richard Lack, who comes from that. Lack, I think, really proliferated a whole bunch of ateliers in the 20th century, and then from that, people like Daniel Graves came, and I think Daniel Graves founded FAA, if I'm correct. So the Western world has all of these ateliers, but they actually come from all the same source, because they're founded from pretty much a very narrow viewpoint. And if I will publish my article that I wrote and I read at the beginning of the stream. If you guys want to go back, you just joined. After this, and you can read it, that's what I'm referring to when I say that all this education comes from the same Americans. It's not a French education, it's an American education. And the closest link back to the French is Paxton, who's decidedly different, I think, from most of the French academics. So that's some deep cut lore. GCA, Lime Academy, there's a million random, actually maybe GCA is Jacob Collins. I'm actually not sure if he's FAA. I don't think he is. I'm not 100% sure on that. But Lime Academy is owned by Florence Academy of Art people. They used to own the Florence Academy of Art in New Jersey, I think. So I think I'm going to do a video on all the books and stuff that I like for members next week. And I'm just going to talk about some kind of stories and principles of French academic art that I like. And I'm putting together a little lecture about that type of stuff for my course too this week. So this will be very good timing. My pre-recorded course that's going to come out in a few months. Talking about. It was because of the Soviet era that these academic schools were able to survive all that. Space was taken away from the Soviet avant-garde of the early 20s, and Stalin made realism the standard. Yeah, I think that because they wanted to reject the West. Listen, my world history is not the best. I'm not a world history guy. I just know art history, and I know this one specific time of art history. But I think they wanted to reject the West, and the West was going towards this abstract expressionism, this avant-garde, this new abstract stuff, modernist stuff, and they preserved their realist training because of the Soviets. Yeah, I think that is a very fair statement. And there used to be really great schools in Ukraine and stuff too, really, really, really good schools. Which unfortunate that I don't think they're, around anymore. It's a shame. Some really great Ukrainian painters from the Soviet times. And for more recently too. Okay, I got to focus up. Let me just take a step back here and just think. Ben Valentine. Jacob Collins comes from the Art Students League. Yeah, so in America had its own thing too, and the Art Students League is a really important part of that. That's a New York City education, and a lot of great illustrators, a lot of those great magazine illustrators and stuff that you see from the early 20th century come from the Art Students League, which has kind of its own history to it, and it's a little bit separate from some of the atelier stuff that we see around America, but it connects to it, like Jacob Collins, yeah, who's the owner or founder of GCA. I don't really know what he's doing nowadays, to be honest. It's not my area of expertise. What are some good art history books? My favorite art history book, if you just want to read like something about the 19th century and like have it be fun, and there's fun illustrations in it, it's a great fucking book. It's called A Bohemian Paris of Today, and it's fully illustrated by in 19th century ink, like fun cartoony illustrations. They're really, really good. And it's just fun, and it describes what it's like actually like to be a student in Paris in the 19th century. And those guys are like, they're crazy. I mean, I've told the story on stream before. I'll tell it again. And one of my favorite stories from, I'm not even sure if it's in that book. It might be in another book. But anyways, one of my favorite stories from the academies back then is, this is before, central heating and stuff. They had a big stove, a hearth in the middle of the studio. And that's how they kept it warm. The amateur students, the new students, they would get hazed like crazy. And it was their job to sweep and clean and organize the studio for everybody. And they would have to come in early too in the mornings, or like the classroom monitor would come in early in the mornings, and they would tend to the hearth and heat up the studio for everybody when they arrived. Now, as part of the hazing ritual, which was very intense, and yeah, certainly wouldn't get away with it anymore. But it's funny to look back on if you don't think about the problematic aspect. What they would do is they'd take these new students, and they'd say, "Okay, we're going to brand you with the studio's logo or whatever. We're going to brand you to be an actual member of the studio." And they would walk over to the hearth, and they'd take out the poking iron, and they'd do a big display. They'd take a piece of paper, and they burn through the piece of paper, a piece of string. They burn through the piece of string to demonstrate that it's glowing orange at the end. And the student would be like, "No, what the fuck? Don't burn me. This is crazy. Don't brand me." And obviously they would resist. They would hold the student down, and they would take his shirt off or whatever. And as they held the student back to watch this big display, they'd walk around him in circles with the iron to kind of confuse him. And so they walk around the student in a circle, and they come up to him, and they take the iron, glowing orange at the end of it, and thrust it into him, and the student's screaming. And then the student realizes it's actually ice cold, because on that final pass that they walked around him, they swapped it out with another iron that had been painted cadmium orange at the end of it, to make it look like it was glowing. They did all sorts of pranks like that. I think they literally did, the whole bucket of water on top of the door type of thing too, which is kind of funny. I can't remember exactly where that story is, so. There's other stories of them making them sword fight with paint, stripped completely naked. A lot of gay shit that happens in all fraternities for some reason. Which slay, if that's your prerogative. That can be your prerogative if you want. Yeah, they were horrifically brutal, and they bullied many people out of the studios. The real reason that type of stuff happened is because these were so intense. They were so competitive. These were mostly not exactly poor people, but people who worked their ass off to get to Paris, to become a student, to become great. And they were competing and working, immeasurably hard to win the Prix de Rome, which was probably, like the Arc Salon, their only chance at becoming a serious artist. And so there's so much pressure on these guys that type of stuff, that bullying and hazing and stuff, that really was very pervasive. And they would shut down the whole studios too. They would shut down the whole studio if the pranks got too bad. That's on Proco. It's all good. There's really no one else for that super beginner stuff, so I do send Proco videos sometimes to beginners. I'm just not a huge fan of all the Watt stuff. I think that it's really they hit some of the Watt stuff, they hit on the head super, super well. The other stuff I just not a big fan of. So I don't send it too much. Or I don't share it with people too much, but it's not bad. It's fine. You gotta pick your battles. And I've picked enough battles recently. Alright, no more battles for Jakey. Rubens, Titian, Tiepolo at a balance between illustrative and decorative aspects of art. Yeah, that's the Renaissance guys. Very good at that. I hope that people will learn that Bouguereau, despite being a great painter, is a sad story when he realized he was fighting early photography and lost the balance of previous masters. Okay. Feel free to elaborate on that one, buddy. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I don't think Bouguereau was fighting photography at all. I think that people see realist art and they don't really know how to tell the difference between high-level realist stuff and photography, but Bouguereau's work is nothing like photography. I just think it's a very difficult distinction to make. So most people don't see that. This smudge side on here. I think I'm a little bit. Let me check some stuff. Maybe a little bit wider on this far side of the chest. And we can throw some tone on. I gotta lock in a little bit here. What is arc? You gotta just watch my new video, buddy. It's a doozy. It's a serious doozy. Big drama, guys. Crazy situation in the fine art painting world. The painting situation is crazy. Hey guys. I know you guys think realism is a big shit in my ass, but actually, this painting stuff is kind of crazy. How do you accurately draw hair on the sculptural head? With drawing anything, you just want to draw large masses. If you're drawing individual strands of hair, you're in a bad place. So what you need to do is draw the largest masses possible and put accents where you want to imply the details. So instead of just drawing this eye or this strand of hair, what you want to do is to conceptualize this entire thing as one large egg and see that the shadows run around the back of the egg and down the side of the neck, and then and on the underside of the hair too a little bit as well, and shade those grand masses and let the details resolve themselves. As far as accuracy, what you want to do is measure with your thumb and pencil like this, how many head heights the figure is tall, and then mark that many divisions on your page. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 head heights here, which is tall, but that's because the viewpoint for our figure is a little bit low, so he's extended by an extra head. I think he's actually 8.5 if I measure correctly. Maybe the Biblos copy is the most ambitious. Jake, there's this girl I like. She looks just like you. What should I do? compliment or like her mustache or something. Yeah, compliment her mustache, buddy. That always works. Oh, I see you're growing a little hair up over there. That should work. If that doesn't work, let me know. Because it should. Holy shit, I fucking hate this shoulder. There we go. Beautiful. You gotta look at all great art previous to the end of the Baroque. Why do people keep talking about Baroque in here? And the beginning of academicism, they had a balance between the realism and decorative aspect of painting. Sure. It's fine. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, good luck. That's, if she looks like me, you know, she's gonna love it. Say, you still mog despite the negative canthal tilt. Do you want negative or positive canthal tilt? That's one of my favorite comments I've ever gotten. Was just some guy said, "Bro mogs despite the negative canthal tilt," or whichever one is the bad one. I can't remember. I got prey eyes. I got puppy dog prey eyes. I'm weak. I'm hardly a man. Let's see. This is the edge of this ab. This is the edge of this ab. Should be pretty good. These come up and connect 10th rib. This is 18 by 24 paper, which is A2 paper. I think that's the ideal size for like a full cast. You could do even a little bit bigger, but yeah, I think one problem that people have is they just draw too small. You know, and the size of your drawing is like the resolution of a file. If you're doing pixel art, if you're doing like 16 by 16 pixels or something, you can barely make a head. If you're working in like 720p or something like that, you know, I'm loosening up the analogy here. You can make an okay head, but it'll still be a little blurry. You're not going to get super crisp lines. If you do a much larger file size, then you have all the freedom in the world, and then you get to a point where the extra file size isn't helping you anymore. So I say 18 by 24 is, you know, around the sweet spot for like a full-scale figure where you're not doing so much tremendous work where you have to fill in so much space, but you still have enough room in each of these features, you know, for it to be to have a good amount of detail, enough resolution. And the same with like the head too. Like this head at the end of the day is only what, 3 inches tall, and ladies, it's Valentine's Day. 3 inches is more than enough. You know, just keep that in mind. Not even ladies, you know, just everyone. That's more than enough. That's honestly more than anyone could ever need. And also, if you were to do a head study in your sketchbook, you know, a head study in a sketchbook, I'm going to do like about the size of my palm. So at the end of the day, even if you're working this large, the head's still going to be smaller than like you would even do in your normal sketchbook. So. Yeah, I think that's around the ideal size in there. I just need to figure out where I can place those knees. Two. So 6 head heights is about the bottom of the knee, so we can find where that is on here. Here's 1 head height, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 7 at the bottom of these. Actually, that's about where I had it marked, and they're a little bit higher up there too. So probably right about here. So I wasn't far off of my initial guess. And then this one's higher than that one. I always confuse myself. Like sometimes I count the initial head height as 1, and then sometimes I don't, and I always confuse my measurements. Let me just check my plumb line, my straight up and down verticals here. Yeah, I'm gonna move this leg in a little bit. I'm casting my proportion spell. Okay, yeah, moving in the width of this leg a little bit. It's probably still something like this. Let me check the plumb line there, where it starts. Yeah. I think ideally, too, I do want to do some of these where I'm like actually standing up at my desk, but it's just, or at an easel, but it's just, it's hard. I don't know how to like get the reference, how to hold my reference in the right spot. Not as easy as when you're drawing from life, you know. Should be about the bottom of this knee is. The top of this knee is. Let's just do some quick maths here. 1, 2, 3. Do some quick maths. 2. Some slightly longer maths. Yeah, 2.5. Okay, 2.5 hand heights. Actually, I think that knee's gonna be a little bit. If that knee goes higher up, then it's gonna be too long. Let me think here for a second. Jake, do you like poetry? Nope. Don't know anything about it. What's Jake's zodiac? What's a zodiac? Is that like my star thing? I'm a badger. Yeah, I'm a badger. Fuck. Drop my eraser. Let me think here. What am I... Think about my proportions. Gotta figure out where to place his knee. On God. I don't dislike poetry, but yeah. I think art's cringe, to be honest. I think artists are cringe. Huge, big cringe, dude. I never thought I would be an artist. Kind of an L. It's a massive L. I just try to be the coolest artist I can, but it's an uphill battle. It's a serious uphill battle. And that's just what's up. Measurements are telling me my knee should be right here. Sometimes the measurements, they lie to me. They're stupid and stinky. Let me think about this. Let's just sketch this in broadly. That makes my lower leg way too long. And I don't think my figure is too tall. I don't think so. I'm thinking, guys, I'm thinking. Then that means this has to be too short, I think. And then this has to go down a little bit. It's because we're dealing with we're dealing with a little bit of perspective distortion too, just because our viewpoint's low, so the figure gets stretched out slightly. So it's not standard proportions, which are kind of throwing me off. Why did you name yourself Jake? It's a stage name. It's a stage name. I wanted to come up with something like really cool, like Jacob, but that was taken. I hate art, it sucks, but when you do it, it's pleasant to look at. I don't think you hate art, you probably hate bad art. Or you only like good bad art. One or the other. Depends on what you want to classify me as. Congrats, Adam. What's Adam do? Getting married. Let's fucking go, man. Let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. My leg looks long, dude. Heel to the bit of the crotch. The same to the top of the head. Then we check the measurement. Heel to bit of crotch, same as the top of the head. So if something looks long but it measures to not be long, then it has to be thin. There's only 2 ways to go about that. So then we check our plumb line. Back of the neck should align. Not bad. Okay. I think what we're gonna do. This is gonna come out like this. And I'm gonna move this ankle up slightly. I prefer the way Jake says Chinese. Or cratch. What is cratch? What is cratch? Chinese. Well, Bing Shiling. Well, Bing Shiling. 对不起，我的中文不好。对不起。对不起。我最喜欢冰淇淋. I don't even know the whole copy pasta of that. I really should learn it. I feel like that would be really good for my career, just as an artist. Now that I'm blacklisted from every atelier in the West, I probably should improve my Chinese a little bit. I had someone message me once too that was like, I saw that Temu video you did where you had that Chinese sound in the beginning, and that was disgustingly racist. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then they blocked me, and I didn't even get to tell them that that's John Cena saying that he likes ice cream. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I kind of felt like that person doesn't speak Chinese. I thought that maybe just that was a clue I had. I'm not happy with this leg, man. Also, I got these. Oh, look at my hands. I got these erasers from China. I said Zhonghua. That means China in Chinese. I got these erasers from that's from the Temu video. These are from Marie's in China. I love them, but I roll the erasers around in my hand while I draw, and these ones are just so sticky, and they get this horrible like on my hand, and it just and on my pencil too, and it just totally fucking ruins everything that it touches. I gotta throw them all out, but I've been doing this for like a year and I haven't done it, so it's really annoying. They're great erasers otherwise. It's just kind of like weird how sticky they get. Do you have a job besides YouTube? No, I don't. I've been doing content creation full time for, well, I've been doing it about a year and a half now, but I've only been making a living doing it, or an income doing it for the past 8 months or so. But I had about 15,000 saved up in my bank from working in restaurants for years. I'm very frugal with my money, and I live very modestly. And I quit my job, and that was enough for me to survive for about 8 months. No, a little bit less than that, 6 months or so. But I had a little bit of income too, so I was making about $1,000 a month teaching, maybe not even, like 600 a month teaching. And I just grinded the shit out of making videos and TikTok and stuff, and really hustled to teach. And after about 6-7 months, I was like, all right, I probably have to go back to work for the summer, and I can try again next year. And then I cracked the code, like at the last minute. And I made all those very viral reels and stuff that you guys have seen. So came very, very close. It takes a lot of time, and it's very depressing and very hard because you just never know what you're doing right or wrong. But I've come a long way since then. I know what ISO does on my camera now. I'm still shooting into the light directly, so I'm not doing all that great. $15K saved from restaurants is incredible. Yeah, I worked in a touristy city, and I worked very hard though. When I was working in restaurants, man, I was walking on my phone, my step counter, 50 miles a week. I was doing a double marathon a week, just working. I do about 10 miles a shift. And I could make a lot of money doing that, which is very, very helpful. Very great. But that shit was very brutal and not fun work. Not fun. And so every time I feel lazy, I just remember what it was like to be a normal person. And then I set my entire career on fire, calling out the largest names in the industry. But that's just how we do it here. I even learned what interlacing is. That's sick. Yeah, I know what 1080p now is versus 1080i. There was just like a month where everything was interlaced. Did it happen randomly? No, I got very, very good at making videos, and I got better at teaching. I was teaching a lot during that time. I was working my ass off to try to get people to teach so that I could make a living. And making videos is a skill. When Mr. Beast is like, I could start from a brand new account and make it. It's like a meme, but he genuinely could. Making videos is a very serious skill. Speaking compellingly, having something to say, being good at teaching, being good at simplifying ideas or having unique ideas to teach, they're all things that need to be developed. And if you can go back, God, I don't want to expose myself like this. I don't even want to say this. Maybe I think I archived them all. You can go, I'm going to say it. You could go back to my earliest videos on my TikTok account, and they are so bad, guys. It's like me sitting in my living room and I'm like, I want to talk about a painter that I like. He's really good. And I remember when one of those went, like, it got like 30K views, and somehow all my coworkers saw it. It was so embarrassing. I couldn't even speak like I am now. I couldn't even raise my voice until I started working in a restaurant. I had to talk in a kitchen. I literally didn't know how to raise my voice. I always spoke quietly. It actually sucks because like now I try to like voice act or whatever, to do voiceovers and stuff, and like I have a hard time yelling without like hurting my throat properly. I don't know how to properly control my voice box. Arc is my latest video. Go watch it. It's kind of crazy. It's fucking crazy. Who did you call out before? I want to see that. I'm not a call out channel. I'm not CoffeeZilla. I'm not CoffeeZilla, guys, and I don't want to be. I make videos that are entertaining and fun about art. Not, and I talk about things that are interesting, and I make them entertaining, even if people don't know what they are. That's what I do. I'm not CoffeeZilla. Okay. My camera I'm using is a Sony a6000. That's the first one I bought for about $300 used. And then once I started making money, I bought a Sony a6400. That way I could shoot in 4K. And that had a lens, a 18 to 50 lens on it, Sigma lens on it. And that was very good. And recently I bought a 16 millimeter prime lens, f1.6. And I didn't know what ISO meant 8 months ago. Okay, so the fact that I can say that, now, it says a lot. It says a lot. But the f1.6 has been really great for being a little bit more artistic in the way I shoot. And I've never done photography. I don't bring my cameras outside now. It's something I've been interested in, but I just never really. I don't really go outside all that much. I don't really go outside all that much, I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah, I go to the gym every morning, 6 a.m., 6:30. If I'm a lazy piece of shit, 6:45. And then I come back and I'm in here making videos, I'm writing stuff. Spent all day writing that. I spent all morning writing that article that I wrote, and I'll put that on my story. I don't really know where to, I don't have anywhere to publish that article or anything. I could put it on my website, but it's not like I have a blog section of my website. It doesn't really matter. You guys can share it around on Facebook. Apparently Facebook is where all this shit's happening, by the way. I don't even have a Facebook. I gotta go on a fucking burner account to go look at what these posts are saying. ARC stands for, just watch the video, my godly friend. Bro does have really long thighs. I think it's just because they're not wide enough. Let me just back up here. I don't know why I said wide enough like a demon. Don't ask me. Wide enough. A lot of people say I sound like Corpse, Yeah, I just need to make them wider, I think. I've been pussyfooting around with these legs. I'm gonna move this in a little bit too. Where's my plumb line when I need it? It would actually be helpful right now. I do sound like Corpse. A lot of people say I sound like Corpse. A lot of people say I sound like Corpse, actually. Sorry. You're mad. You're mad. I sound really cool. Who do you think his husband is? I don't know that guy. I don't even know what that means. Yeah, my last video only had 64K views. It's not like a smash viral hit. It's just it has been mainline streamed into the veins of everyone in the art world. Yeah. So all the fine art world has seen it, but that's probably now that I think about it, it's probably a few thousand people. I hope it picks up more of a mainstream audience, but I've done everything I can at this point. What do you think about Picasso's art? I really don't care about modernism, guys. I like realism because it's fun to learn. It's very engaging to learn. something I can pursue and keep improving. That's why I like realism. I like to play a game that has rules. And those rules are just reality, and actually you can still bend them and be very creative with them. That's what I like to do. Lore update. What does that mean? Oh, are you talking about like, I don't know what you're talking about actually. I already read the ARC thing if you want to go back and watch it. No, I'm not using Riley rhythms. I just use a centerline. You know, Riley rhythms are just things that's what I don't like about the Watts stuff, is I think it teaches people to think in systems, when those systems aren't really things that like, those systems are just based off reality. They're nice tools to have. But if you teach the systems first, then everything becomes the systems, and you like kind of stop connecting it to what matters or like what's important about it. So like sometimes I do pull a line from like the acromion process down to the pit of the crotch, which is a Riley rhythm like this. But I wouldn't always do that every drawing because it's not all that useful. And the same, like I put a center line on every drawing, but like those Riley rhythms are just anatomical lines, or just how the anatomy flows. So this is the Riley rhythm that goes from the nipple to the 10th rib to the bottom of the abdomen and into the pit of the crotch. That's not a Riley rhythm. That's the, you know, again, that's the 10th rib connecting into abdominal like sheath or whatever. And that kind of flows up to where the nipple is. That's not a real anatomical connection, I don't think. So yeah, I don't know. I just connect anatomy and I just find my own flow and my own rhythms. Yeah, but I don't like the term Riley rhythm because again, it's just a rhythm, you know. Before back in my day, we just called it rhythm. I don't even know about this Riley guy. But Mr. White. Do not mention if Jake uses a formula for drawing. See, somebody thought they were watching Corpse. I don't like abstract. I like work that does abstraction well. I love a great Craig Mullins illustration. I love a great, I mean, there's a billion illustrators. I love the Spider-Verse art. That uses abstraction very well. Abstract art is art. It's just a more pure, it's a non-representational form of design. You still use the same design in abstract art as you would with a figure. You know, how you compose it on the page, how you make nice shapes and stuff like that, how you find rhythm. But no, I don't like abstract expressionism. It just doesn't, it bores me. I like to, again, I want to climb the ladder. I want to know my MMR. I want to grind ranked. That's what I like. And I want to play with some fun strategies, you know, within a rule set. Abstract art is like, you know, you're playing with your friend and you're like, I shot you, and he's like, no, I have a force field. You're like, no, I shot you, and you're like, no, I have a force field. When I shoot you, you're dead. Okay, chatters? I'm packing that 9. You hear me? I'm gonna just fill in some masses of light and dark. What time is it? It's like a little after 4. I'll go to like 45 minutes or so. We'll see. All the Euros are gonna, actually, I was gonna say all the Euros are gonna start falling asleep, but all the Euros in my Discord are up until like 4 a.m. every night. I don't know what their fucking type of crack they're smoking in Euro. What is that place called? Euroland? I don't know what type of crack they're smoking there. I'm just filling all my shadows in with a nice flat dark source. Flat shadow. when you're with the hoes at the party and then someone mentions drawing with a method to Jake? Bro was killing the vibes. My friend has this really funny story where we were at a concert once and me and my buddy, and we started talking to these two girls in front of us at the concert, and like we asked like, you know, like what's your major, and they were like, oh, one of them was like art, and I was like, oh cool, like I'm an artist too. And then she goes, oh, like Picasso? And my buddy always describes this as just the smile just dropping off of my face, and just me being like, oh no, not really. And I just killed the vibe. Don't talk to me about abstract art around the hose. Listen, I can't be fake. Okay? I don't play that shit. All right? I don't play that. Oh yeah, I agree with designing the canvas abstractly. Even Loomis talks about, you know, describing your composition abstractly before, you know, thinking about your biggest shapes of light and dark. I think that's one of the most base fundamental aspects of illustration realism, or not realism, in art making, abstract or realism. Fill in these shadows. Doesn't matter at all how you fill in with vine charcoal, because vine charcoal is so soft and it's so smudgy that it just moves around on the paper. So I'm gonna hit it with a stump and it's all gonna smooth together. So as long as I don't really like mess up the drawing too much and get out of the lines, then and if there's an area I want to like particularly reinforce and save, then I can just use my charcoal pencil here, and this won't be interrupted by my stump. The charcoal paper will sit on the paper even if it's stumped over. This is the magic of the 19th century technique, man. The best ever. Charcoal and stump, baby. That's all about. Ruthlessly efficient. And used long before the 19th century. They used the stump, I think, all the time in 18th century work, too. Top of the pubic area. This comes down. Side of our leg. Sketching cars better. I mean, you know, it's perspective stuff, but the problem with like being like, oh, just learn perspective is like somebody's like, oh, how do I draw figures better? And you're like, well, just go learn anatomy. And then like they spend a ton of time like copying flat anatomy charts, and they don't get any better at drawing because they're not like actually improving like their proportion or their understanding of lights, or, you know, that type of stuff. So the hard part about perspective is that it's very technical, and you can get absorbed by all that technical knowledge and not get any better at like actually drawing. But with hard body surfaces like cars, like that technical knowledge is a little bit more important, I think. Or, you know, perspective's a little bit more straightforward. So yeah, I don't know, perspective and just general drawing. Any sort of, even like drawing the figure and just like general fundamentals of drawing will make you much better at it will make you much better at even drawing cars. You know, it makes you better at drawing anything. I listened to Draftsman a little bit. Back when it first came out, I haven't listened religiously. I haven't listened in years, to be honest. Marshall's an interesting guy. He's a great speaker. I watched Marshall's boot camp, Bridgman boot camp, and I was a little bit disappointed because he just doesn't really draw all that much to demonstrate, and that's how I like to learn. I like to see people draw and demonstrate things. There's a whole lot more talking than he does drawing, which can be effective. Nothing against Marshall. It's not my style for that course specifically. What else in shadow? A little bit on the inside of our elbow. A little bit on the inside of our arm. Underside of our hand. What? Oh, why do people keep talking about this entire stream? People have talked about Picasso. I cannot get away from this fucking guy. You bring up art in any context and people talk about Picasso. That's how I know you have no idea about anything about art. It's because you talk about Picasso. The problem is the only people who know anything about art are people that took their AP art history in high school, and now they think they're mega geniuses about art history, and they just all have the same 5 facts memorized. They're art history cool facts that they can share with a normie. And you just hear the same shit over again, and a lot of it's not even true. And then, I took the art history classes in college. I took art history 1 and 2 and a Renaissance specialization. And it's good. It's great. Some of the most useful classes I took in college actually, but it's a very narrow and specific look at our history. Those classes, they don't even talk about 19th century stuff. They don't even teach about the 19th century academics in your standard art history, AP art history class, really. They might gloss over a couple of them, but it's not really a big part of that. I use this song in my video. I just think he's overrated. Want someone to explain his work to me. You're not going to find anyone here that's going to not think he's overrated. If you do, I'm going to ban him. Picasso, one of the interesting things I read, probably from Fred Ross, to be honest. A lot of my fucking research on Bouguereau is from Fred Ross, which annoys me. About this whole art debacle, because I like Ross's catalog raisonné, and anyone researching these guys is good to some extent. What was I going to talk about? I started talking about Ross. Sorry. Oh, but one thing, I think this is probably from one of Ross's thesis, is that Bouguereau could paint 12 works a year or something like that, pretty much. And those would sell for however much money. I think in the entire chronologue of Bouguereau's existence, the guy painted fucking I think cataloged about 1,000 works. Someone commented on my video that there's double that in existence, but it would ruin Ross's book if it actually existed. That's a fucking crazy claim that I would love to verify, but I don't think I ever will be able to verify that. That's a deep fucking cut. Picasso made 30,000 works in his goddamn life. So just from a standpoint, these art dealers, they realize that why push Bouguereau when you can push these modernists who can churn out 100, if not 30 or 50x the amount of work in their life. And now that I'm so pissed off at these guys, now I'm God damn it, I gotta go through the catalog raisonné and check all the fucking sources. Like what if all that shit's wrong? Can I just take anything at face value? Can I not just believe anyone in the world? It really pisses me off, because most of the time that I research something, I realize that the common opinion that people hold is just super wrong. About art history stuff specifically. I don't really care about anything else. About 19th century art history stuff specifically. You know, it's that way with grisaille and glazing. It's that way with realist movement. I used your Bouguereau for my French project. Oh, that's cool, yeah. I didn't cite my sources in that because that was the first essay and video essay I ever wrote. And I have gone back and found many of those sources, but yeah, it's just very unorganized with that stuff. But now I do a better job about citing everything. Maybe I've misinterpreted the way you said he's fighting photography. It was all the rage in the French Academy? Photography? The academics, I mean, some people used photography, but the students were just painting from life. You know, the French Academy, they don't really do all that much in the academy. Like, you know, they drop in the gas, they do their competitions, but I don't think they allowed. I've never read anything that stated that they would allow like a photo reference in the Prix de Rome. I mean, they would make sure that they didn't bring in clay maquettes. They would pat them down every day to make sure they didn't bring a clay maquette into the Prix de Rome when they were at this phase where they would get kind of locked up and they'd have to work with only the materials they have there. How did photography compete with painting back then other than its novelty? It was so rudimentary. Early photography, I mean, rudimentary, but it looks really good. It has a beautiful sense of edges and crispness, and there were some really good photographers right from the start. There's a lot of artistry in those early photography stuff. But I mean, painting and photography, they just do different things, you know? They do different things. Like, that's the thing that annoys me about, like, photorealism and hyper-realist drawing that you see nowadays, is like, it's not what painting was for. You know, painting was about like capturing like the essence, the personality, the spirit of people. You know, photography, it can be used that way. There's like that one guy that took all those photos of famous people, like I think Einstein, and the composer is facing away, holding his violin or cello or something. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Lifetime to draw. Did I say something stupid? Nah, I wouldn't do that. Where are we at here? Let's throw in a little bit of this. Let's use a little bit of charcoal pencil. I got this sticky ass. Oh, the stream is crispy high res. You know, even modern photography is different from painting. You know, I don't like that people have this idea that, like, painting and drawing are the same thing. Like, why did you decide not to draw? Because I didn't want to identify as an artist, because whenever you say you're an artist, people are like, oh, my niece, she goes to the painting classes down the road with a 70-year-old woman, abstract expressionist. Don't you think this is really good? I don't care about your niece, bro. I don't care about your niece, man. It's great. But if she wants to pick up some real painting, you know, send her to me. If you want to keep playing with those children, you can keep doing that. If I had a kid, they'd be on a hard, disciplined diet. Cast studies for breakfast. Copies for lunch. Sculpting for dinner. Oh, okay, Kyle, I know what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. The people were very interested in photography in the late 19th century, yeah. Actually, there's some great photo books out there. Yeah, I mean, Bouguereau was fighting against that for sure. Yeah. Normally when people say like photography and these artists, it's to like imply that they like would trace or use camera obscura or whatever to like, you know, draw paint from photos in order to like explain their technique. That's normally what I'm like primed to hearing people kind of bullshit about, which in the 19th century, it didn't really happen all that much, despite what is that guy's name? Richard Hawkins, whatever that guy has to say. It's like this book that's like the secret. It's like it's like an Ancient Aliens form of an art history book. It's like the secret lost techniques. And it is like actual like Illuminati triangle conspiracy theory levels of like how old artists used to paint. And there's a lot of very serious artists that I've seen like take that book at face value. It's very sad. Vermeer might have used camera obscura, by the way. He's like the one guy that like might have, but I don't know. Tim's Vermeer type of deal, I don't think that the use of camera obscura is anywhere near as widespread as some people think. And maybe it was at certain times. I don't think so at all. But I know for certain that it wasn't in the 19th century French academies. It's copium. It's copium, guys. You hear people say it, just tell them cope and seethe. Cope and seethe. An artist and a medical student is the worst thing ever. All right. I don't know what you're talking about. That's too dark. Oops. Press down too hard. I just gotta sit back here and remind myself to draw the big masses. This is the side plane of the face. It's basically just the rounding of this big egg of the head. And I can use my charcoal pencil, my Conte. Do museum employees not just know more about artist method, especially stuff like grisaille? I mean, most people don't know that much about this stuff at all. I mean, museum employees, I wouldn't expect. Well, like any serious academic of art history should know about like basic techniques that were used. The people that say stuff like, oh, everything is black and white grisaille are like annoying TikTokers online for the most part, from what I've seen. Not like very serious people. Where's the light source coming from? Top left. That means the bottom right of everything gets rounded, shaded. Who's Brian Conforti? Oh, that's the guy talking earlier. I haven't even said anything in a while. What are you talking about? There's a lot of 4chan fine art people, to be honest. It's kind of interesting. I don't really know. Well, I do know. Similar to the ARC people. At least in leadership. Jake, you ever worked with 3D modeling or anything be interested in it? Yeah, I'm making a long-term video right now on learning 3D and Blender specifically. So that's coming. I've already made some very cool, interesting, unique 3D sculpts. And it's part of a larger project that I'm working on that I accidentally made the scope of absurdly, stupidly dumb and stupid idiot. So I have to do that now. So I got to see that through. So it's gonna take a little bit of time to make that video. I'm also working on my course in the background right now, so that's also slowing things down quite a bit. It's taking about half of my time each week. Just because I'm working together with somebody else, so I can't just like cram everything out in like 2 weeks. I gotta collaborate and plan every single element. It takes a lot longer to do stuff with somebody, but it's really good because of that. Yeah, drawing or content creation is my main job, really. I don't really like sell drawings and paintings. I'm certainly not going to be winning any galleries or, or I'm not going to be winning any salons or you know, probably won't get my Arcadia gallery show anytime soon after that video. And that's something I knew would happen. So. I never really had. I don't really like that whole section of the fine art world. It's very in group versus out groupy, and it's not really where I see myself excelling rather. Yeah, Michael is too old to be hashing it out in the comment section. He doesn't really understand. Yeah, I feel, yeah. The guy doesn't really know the game very well, so it's kind of like dunking on a toddler. But he also got himself in that situation, so what am I supposed to do about it? I think that, yeah. I'll post my statement publicly after this. I'm not going to say too much. Why is some guy posting my essay in different words? When your friend says you can copy off of them, you just gotta change it a little bit. Oh, Jocko was that guy who was asking me about Paul. Holy shit, 10 memberships. Thank you, Silver. That's the most memberships I've ever gotten. Happy Valentine's Day, bro. You're my Valentine. Holy fuck, dude, that's crazy. Thank you so much. That's a lot of memberships. All right, I'm gonna put out another members video this week, so I'm gonna put out another membership video this week, this upcoming week. So, who got it? I want to look at the names who got it. Damn. You guys cooking. Oh, I don't have the sound on. You'll get a few more. But also that in the membership, you also get early access to videos, and then you also get, I have some tutorial videos already up there. I put out a figure drawing tutorial, like just talking about it's not like a hardcore tutorial, it's you know, a commentary while I draw along, and And I do talk about kind of the elements and ideas that I like to think about, just like this, but a little bit more step-by-step focused about some of the more principal ideas of drawing that I'm always thinking about. So that's huge. Thank you, Silver. Some guy asked if I ever have periods of like motivation, and lack of motivation, or days of lack of motivation. Dude, yeah, it happens to everyone. Like, don't worry about it. If you're systemically having trouble, pedestal should come down to his toes. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, you're definitely right. Sorry, that's like right on top of the drawing. I'll move that too. Maybe that'll be over there. If you're like systemically, or like a day after a month, week after week, like having a hard time motivation, not doing anything, like you probably need to change something. You need to think about why you draw, what you want to learn. I always recommend, if you don't know what to do, like take a class or learn something new. But if you're ever asking me if some days I'm just like not feeling great, like, yeah. The way that I work on these projects and these videos is when I'm starting out, I'm like a little bit more casual on them, probably like 3-4 hours a day. And then the further into them, the more obsessive I get, and I'm like 10 or 12 hours a day towards the end of making, the video cycle process. So things always start out kind of slow, and sometimes I'm like, damn, like I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why you can have a lack of motivation, but I'm not like a 12-hour day, everyday powerhouse. I mean, if I was, and I have been for extended periods of time before, when I'm really motivated on something, that type of stuff is very draining, and it's not good for you. It's not good for you to always be on like that. You need to intake, inspiration and motivation and care about things outside of just what you do. Show your biceps, 11111, or exclamation point. Ready, guys? Yeah. A lot of people say I sound like corpse. Just had to do it. It's Valentine's Day, baby. I gotta give it to the people on Valentine's Day, you know what I mean? Well, let me read this guy's messages. I stopped drawing around the time AI became your videos. Oh, watch my video too on, if you haven't seen, my portrait drawing video as well. Like, yeah, the thing with AI is, like, I'm not even like the most ultra anti-AI guy ever. When this stuff first came out in like 2021, I was like on some of these first models, and it was so interesting and fascinating, and I tried it, but I realized that the type of stuff that this generates, like, if I wanted to fix all the errors, I just have to learn it anyways. And so I didn't really see much of a point. And I found that deliberating the most important parts of the process, which is the early areas of design and composition and the ideas, that's the most essential part possible. If you're delivering that to an AI, man, like that's a real loss of creative control, and that really sucks. And you can let a lot of things go in that stage without realizing it, that you can never get back. And I those types of things, it was a shame, and so I kind of just lost interest in that stuff pretty much within a week or so, and haven't touched it in years. And I think the way that I try to approach this isn't just like, AI bad or unethical. Those things can certainly be true and probably are just blatantly true. The way that I approach this stuff is that the reason why I draw and paint is because it's fulfilling to learn something new every day, to have something to work on. This brings meaning and purpose to my life, and I like grinding ranked. I like getting to play the game, and AI can never take that away from me. And I also think that people keep saying over and over and over and over again, you repeat something until it becomes true. Everyone keeps saying like, AI is gonna
AI is really close, guys, to beating humans. It's going to be totally undetectable. Maybe to the average eye, but I think most of the stuff, I still haven't found a use for AI in almost, most of my life. Most of the stuff it pushes out is slop. It's not well designed. And if you know anything about design, you know anything about art and the fundamentals and these ideas that actually matter, it's pretty obvious. And the people that are like, oh, it's so good, it's undetectable, it's going to be so close, they don't know fucking anything. They don't know what they're talking about at all. And I don't think these models are getting that much better. It's slowed down a lot. And now they're trying to jam it into everything to find a use for it. Because they thought that it would be so good that it would find a use, that they'd find a use for it right away. But now, I think they've crammed it into everything because they're like, shit, we have totally shifted the course of society for this stuff. And we don't really know what it's all that good at yet. It's ridiculous. So the stuff I try to focus on is the fulfillment and the joy that just comes from learning how to draw and paint. And there's always going to be a need for a creative director on a film or a visual developer for a game or for a project. That will never be relegated to AI. And if it is, we are decades and decades and decades away from that. And they'll always tell you it's 6 more months away, but they don't know shit about art. They don't know shit about shit, On God. Yeah. I try to focus less on like the philosophical debate bro aspect of the argument and just be like, we got to do something with our lives. And whatever you do, you should just be the best at it. And so, art is a tremendously fulfilling and great way to do that. AI is not going to take that away from you. No, there's not really a lot of like Prix de Rome-esque competitions really. Arc's the biggest. There are a lot of minor painting competitions, but they're looped into these same circles, to be honest. Because, like I said earlier, all these schools come from like the same like 5 guys. So it's very incestuous. It's very incestuous. That's why I don't fuck with any of it. I don't like any of that shit. And that's why I said in my essay, people are like, you don't shit on ARC. They might be fucking up horribly, but they might be very harmful to the scene, but these are our only guys supporting us. And it's like, no, they're not supporting us. They're supporting their own vision, in my opinion, of what art should be. And it's not the 19th century like they claim it is, in my opinion. It's their in-group, in my opinion. So, I recognized that years ago. Guys, I didn't grow up rich. A lot of these guys that go to these schools, hey, no shame. If you got rich parents, you don't get to choose that, and that's great. But a lot of these people that go to these schools for years, they're supported by their parents. Their parents support them while they try to build a career in the fine art world and the atelier world. They're rich. And that's the world they come from. And they got all the time in the world to fuck around and spend 60 hours on a figure drawing in an atelier. And to develop that perfect atelier technique that's going to do well with their groups. But the rest of us have to scrap it out and learn efficiently and care about the actual ideas that matter and look into stuff and try to really, develop our own ideas. And so a long time ago, years ago, I realized that I'm not from that world, and I'm never going to be from that world, and I'm never going to win that against them. So I just said I'm going to make my own game, I'm not playing the same game as them. I'm just going to make my own. And that's why I do all this. And then that's why there's no one else on YouTube that does what I do. There will be in a few years. That's why I'm trying to get good at this stuff and do stuff in my own, really unique way that's hard to do. Two steps ahead. How far did you get in Satisfactory? Which milestones? I think all the way up. I think I just unlocked the one with nuclear, which is like T5. Yeah, it started to get really crazy, and I was really addicted and into it. Man, that was fucking fun. I love that game. And just the logistics challenges are so much fun. I love building the train network and designing things, trying to make stuff efficient. I was very slow. Yeah, it's a good time, dude. I love that shit. That was most fun I've had playing a game in a while. I think the next game I play, I don't know when I'm gonna find the time, but I really want to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. When I get my goddamn 5090, eventually, which I need for editing. Okay, I need it for editing. I'm running a 3060 Ti, dude. It took me an entire goddamn day to optimize and render my video. My life fucking sucks. I'm gonna get the 5090. Okay, don't call me an idiot. When I get that, maybe I'll play Kingdom Come. That game looks fun. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 was like one of the best RPGs I've ever played in my life, dude. That game is so immersive and fun, and it doesn't do the annoying, horrible trope that all these games do, like Elder Scrolls, where it's like, you're the chosen one, you can be anything, go anywhere, and then because they have to make the scope so ridiculous, everything just sucks. Kingdom Come Deliverance, they have a story that's defined. You are Henry, you are one guy, and you have this, this father, and you have this plot. And it makes for so much of a better, RPG. The go anywhere, do anything is just it's such a gimmick. And I grew up on Elder Scrolls. I love Elder Scrolls, but I also unfortunately do recognize that I don't think they're the best designed games or the best stories. That hurts. That hurts to say. I find art fun because there's always something to improve. There's always lots of stuff to learn. A lot of good 3D models. Yeah, there's a ton of references in my Discord. You guys can find my Discord join link in any video description. Certainly my newest one. Is it still original if I use references for now? Dude, everyone uses references. Don't worry about it. Like, people have crazy expectations for paintings because of the internet. And also because this AI debacle causes a whole other discussion about using references and photographs and stuff like that. I'm just personally, I'm not a fan of generating references with AI. I don't think that's good. But everyone uses references. All those 19th century amazing paintings, dude, they're not painting that shit from imagination. They do great sketches, but you can look at their sketches and they're very broad and very general. They're like color sketches and, simple figures that are very flowing, don't have super detailed anatomy. If you want to make something look realistic, you got to use reference. I was watching some animation video about kind of arcane style of animation. And for each of those scenes that you see, and even in an animated, stylized, 3D modeled thing like Arcane, the animators still acted them out and took videos. That way they could, see those emotions and how they move and the subtle differences. If you want to make something feel real, feel genuinely real, you gotta use reference, and there's no shame in that. But you want to have enough understanding of the reference so that you're not just like wholesale relying on only references and blindly copying it. Generally you want to come up with a composition, the ideas first, plan out, make sketches, and then you get your reference. If you get your references right at the beginning, you're like, I got to turn this into something. You're going to have a limited creative vision of that thing. Yeah, Jake, someone made you on an AI chat app. Someone sent this to me a while ago. On like character AI, there's like a boyfriend simulation, Jake, from like, I saw this that happened like this past fall or something. Someone sent it to me. It's because I made like Roblox videos, so there's like a bunch of like crazy, weird young people who do weird shit like that. AI users to the left of me, TikTok reference is cheating to the right. Yeah, that's very true. I hate holding the opinions I have because my opinions only exist within like this insane amount of context and understanding of like nuance that you're just never gonna have, because like you will see people that I think apply the ideas that I say very differently. They'll say the same, sometimes someone will say the same thing as me in a completely fucking wrong way, and it's so annoying. Or people say stuff like, oh, you only draw from life here at this academy. We never ever would use photos. I only paint from life. I wouldn't use a photo. And it's like, it's like rooted in truth, but it's also like stupid. And it's just like an ego thing. And it's not like you don't get unlimited model time if you're an artist. Like, you make like little drawings and sketches and stuff. You make, drawings and sketches and stuff. And you use those, maybe you do like a 3-hour study from your model to paint a head. You use those 3 hours of model time, and then when you're painting your actual compositional painting, your larger painting that you planned this for, you just use that painting that you made of just their head for the reference for the head. That's the old school way of using pictures. Best place for references beside my Discord? Honestly, if you just get Blender for free, you can download them from Scan the World and just light them yourself. There's lots of every sculpture that you can think of is probably on Scan the World, but not everyone has the ability to do that. You might have a gaming PC or something that's capable of that. If you can't do that, oh god, I hate Pinterest. You just get the same fucking Pinterest photos. But there's some nice like Chinese academic and Russian academic casts on Pinterest if you know what to look for. Use modeling in their education. Oh yeah, people made like wax and clay models all the time too for reference, like all the time. There's even one book from the 19th century that says that every French student had their own little puppet show that they comprised of their handmade models and figures. And they're handmade models, and they'd have like little cardboard or paper, wood environments that they put them in. So like that's another use of that's old school reference, and that's great too because it actually gives you the understanding and ability to change stuff more than a photo. So that's an awesome way to do it. And I did that for my Dark Fantasy video, which Dark Fantasy will come back, guys. I think maybe after this donut video. The problem is the donut video. Oh shit! Did I say what it is? The what video? Don't worry about it. After this video, I'm making about 3D. Oh, I leaked so hard. That's fine. You guys will never figure it out. It's very strange. It's not what you think it is. It is what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. What I'm making about this, this video is huge, and the Dark Fantasy video will be even huger. Huger. Donut? What is that? Yeah, I just don't want to release 2 videos in 5 months. That would really hurt me. Well, I guess I'm on pace to be a little bit faster than that, but I would really love to be able to make like one video a month if I'm making really produced good videos, but it's a really brutal fucking schedule. It's very hard. Because a part of, you know, making a big video is I need time to just play and experiment and let the narrative find me. You know, I can't just generally like even this video, 3D video I'm working on now, like I came in with a different idea. And then it morphed into something that now I'm really excited about. I did make a donut blender but not like everyone else. Screen fades to black. Something peculiar. Something peculiar. You'll never believe what happens next. Watch to the end. Treasures littered throughout. Treasures are littered throughout. Absolutely drenched and dripping in treasures. Probably gonna end the stream. Just straight up, not enough treasures in the stream. I don't want to take a break. Buckle down on some taxes. You did all do the blender donut. Not like me. They not like us. Yeah. I'm just gonna call it a day. It was a good stream. He just leans left because of the perspective distortion. It's just because you guys are looking at a weird angle. It's not 100% perfect proportion either, you know. So it's probably a little bit small. Wait, come out. It's still not even flat on. You know, you're not gonna get it flat on. I'll take a picture for the Discord. This type of stuff takes time. I'm not even talking into this microphone. All right, yeah. Dude, Katie's such a leak. She leaks so much shit, man. I'm gonna yell at Katie. I'm gonna scream at her. It's not done. It's nothing to do with you, Evo. Yeah, good stream, everyone. That was fun. I'll try to reappear on YouTube in the next 1 or 2 months. I'll try to make an appearance.